It's Tuesday morning. Good morning, Fleck Zone family, Ravens flock. We got some fresh Ravens content coming your way. That's right, the NFL Combine is here, and General Manager Eric Decosta is speaking to the media in moments. It's the Flex Zone podcast. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that bell. We want to hear from you. We got fresh sound from EDC. We'll hear what he has to say and what his game plan is as we head into the NFL Combine and draft season. Let's get to it right here on the Flex Zone.
That's a deep question. I've been blessed to be a part of an organization where we've had 3 head coaches.
What's up, everybody?
I think that continuity is huge in decision making, having support from ownership,
press conference.
Putting processes in place, systems, feeling good about the process, knowing the other people in the room. I think that's a big part of it. I think shared experience, calling on historical things that have happened in the past to help you make decisions, I think factors in. The biggest thing is really just having an owner that believes in you and has put you in place to succeed and believes you will succeed. And I've been blessed to have Steve Bisciotti in my life for a long time.
Asking about Steve Bisciotti. So high praise for the man who signs the checks, I'm sure.
Well, I think you always,
I hate that we can't hear the
always
question.
looking for quarterbacks. It's a quarterback league. And whether you're looking for a backup, a practice squad quarterback, a starting quarterback, it's hard to win without one. We're blessed to have Lamar Jackson.
What's up, Big Reg?
Before that, we were blessed to have Joe Flacco.
I like the logo,
living
my brother.
in a world without a quarterback is a tough world to live in. We understand that. These guys drive the league, and so it's a tough position to be in. But I think if you've got the right,
of course, ads come up in the middle of my damn live stream. Of course, the ads come up. There we go. But make sure y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Yeah, Big Red, you got to get you on the show, man. I know you've been working with some availability and some equipment.
Well, I think a lot goes
let
into
us know,
that.
man.
First of all, good question. Appreciate the question. The allegations
talking about
are
Tucker.
serious, concerning. The amount of allegations are serious and concerning. I think we're fortunate that the league is doing an investigation. We'll wait as patiently as we can for as much information as we can. We'll make our decisions based on that.
Yeah, you can't even hear the questions they're asking, but they just asked about Tucker. So first was about Bisciotti. They asked about quarterback, and then they mentioned Tucker briefly, talking about his ongoing investigation.
Like every position, we're going to evaluate, rank the board. We've been doing that for the last 29 years. We're blessed to have a really good kickers coach in Randy Brown, who does a phenomenal job evaluating punters and kickers and long snappers for us every single season. We'll meet with Randy throughout the process over the coming weeks. He'll travel all over the country looking at these guys, and we'll build the best board that we can.
Oh, they're asking about the zero tolerance policy with Tucker. They're talking about they are looking at kickers. Yes.
Well, I think, again, it's a good question. I think the biggest thing that we have to do, first of all, is look at every single case differently. There are no absolutes. And I think in this case, we're still awaiting as much information as possible. Again, we're fortunate that the league has come down to Baltimore. I met with the league. I believe the league is meeting with other people in Baltimore as well. We'll wait for the details of that investigation, and we'll make a decision based on that.
So they're waiting the investigation.
I really can't because, again, we look at every case differently, and the facts in every single case. We do this for a living. We study players. We look at background. We consider all these different things. Every case is entirely different facts, different situations. So we'll wait for the investigation to take place, and we'll make a decision based off of that.
So they're waiting it out as we expected.
Right. So we were aware that local media outlet was getting prepared to do a story on Justin Tucker.
So they're saying they knew the story was coming out.
We became aware of those allegations or the potential allegations that might
tipped
result.
off.
Right. So I think, I've answered about 4 questions on this situation. I did meet with Justin. I'm going to keep those comments to myself. And personal conversations with Justin, I think, is probably the smart thing to do. But at that point, we did, meet, and that's what I'm going to say about that.
He has
Don't know.
said he talked to Justin
No
Tucker.
idea.
So he did have a private conversation he mentioned with Justin Tucker. I just hate we can't hear the questions. Now we got it.
Well, I think it's a good, a pretty good class draft-wise, free agency-wise as well. I think we do a really.
Let's see here. Sorry about that. Getting the sound back right now. Here we go.
Really good job. I'm very happy to see the development that our young receivers have made the last couple of years. Greg Lewis does a great job coaching those guys up. Our players really did a good job this year. Feel like there's a good opportunity for us to find some good talent, either through free agency or the draft, in every round, in every price point. And I think the other point is that we've got some really good tight ends as well. And I think this year we really did see kind of our vision for the offense come together with playmakers across the board, whether it's running back, receiver, tight end, backup running back, backup receivers, backup tight ends. I think it was kind of what we've hoped for the last couple of years, and we had a chance to see that come to fruition.
Of course he put on the clinic. Man, he was prepped. He knew they was going to ask about Tucker. I think they asked, 4 straight questions about him?
Well, Ronnie and I did a deal the last time, so that's great. He and I have a good friendship. We've known each other for a long time. He's got a great agent in Kim Miale. Never want to say 100%, but I feel good that we'll have a good, healthy debate, a good process. We're going to meet with Kim in Indy this week, and I'm optimistic that we'll be able to get a deal done.
Optimistic he'll be able to get a deal done with Ronnie Stanley. They've done it before. He will meet with his agent in Indy. This is where deals are done, people, at the combine now.
Well, that's a coaching question. I mean, we've seen, we think Roger had a great year last year. He's a very good athlete. He's way mature than a typical young player. I think he proved that this year with how he played and competed week in, week out, whether it was on-field performance against good players coming back from injuries and things like that. So he's definitely a factor on the left side if need be. I think we'll try to find the best 5 guys we can. I think that there were a lot of questions about the offensive line last year, and I think we did a pretty good job of putting a pretty competitive offensive line together on the field last year, and I would expect the same to be hold true this year.
Yeah, he definitely danced. He 2-stepped out of that one. Now people are saying Tucker will be cut.
Yeah, I think, Cliff, it really just comes down to the best player at the time. We're always going to say that. I mean, it's something that we've said every single year. He's starting back to 1996 with Ozzie as the GM. We're going to draft best available players. So I think if we're picking at, 27, and he's the best guy, we're probably going to pick him. And it's going to hold through with every round. I think it's an important position. I think we were maybe second in the league in sacks last year, but a continuous influx of young pass rush talent, guys that can set the edge and play the run, guys that play like Ravens, physical players who can get to the quarterback. I think that's a priority for us for sure. Derrick Henry? Derrick is just a phenomenal worker. He's a pro. He does everything the right way. The way that he practices, the way that he takes care of his body, his mentality on the field, his leadership, his talent. He's freakishly talented. His combination of size and speed. So he was just the perfect player for us, I think, last year, the right addition. And he brought a lot to the table on the field and also off the field with intangible qualities. We're blessed to have him, and I would expect his successes last year to continue this year.
Speaking about Derrick Henry.
You know, it's a tough question. I mean, it's, running backs are kind of like the stock market. They've been up. When I was a kid, running back was arguably the most important position on the field. You know, I grew up a Cowboys fan, and Tony Dorsett, Emmitt Smith, guys like that were my idols. And then we went through this period of the last 5-10 years. The analytics emphasis sort of de-emphasized the position, and I think last year you saw the impact that some of these guys had, and Howie Roseman, great GM, went out and got Saquon, and they won a Super Bowl, and a lot of credit to Howie. And but I think these are guys that touch the ball. These are guys that impact games. I think they're looked at as probably replaceable by some people. But if you've got a great one, if you've got a historic one, you can't replace those guys. They impact the game in many different ways, and they create nightmares for defenses. Well, I think that you always want to be strong, through your middle, and something that I think we've prioritized with Kyle as a safety, Roquan, our defensive tackles, Travis, Namdi, Linderbaum, Lamar, all those guys. I mean, I believe in that as well, being strong up the middle. It's always going to be an allocation of resources and where you spend your money every year. There's different schools of thought, but you've got to be physical. We've always prided ourselves on being a physical football team that can stop the run the ball, protect the quarterback, rush the passer, and win games in the fourth quarter. I think this draft class is pretty strong. I think you've got on the defensive line, you've got some guys, some defensive ends that when we say defensive end, we mean outside linebackers. So that's you might hear me reference outside linebackers. Other clubs might call them defensive ends. But I think you've got some defensive tackles that are fine prospects. And then on the interior, we see a number of guards that could get picked in the first and second round and probably provide early value and start right away for their drafting clubs.
I think you're asking about Henry and running backs now. No questions about Lamar yet. Wow. Where's Lamar? What is he doing?
Well, I see Michelle over here. She helps decorate my office wall, and I think we have a picture of Derek going up on my wall. So what does that tell you?
I would love to ask the question of why does this team continue to beat the
Lamar's got a great voice, and he's a student of the game. He watches players. He knows talent. Now, he does love the Miami guys and the Florida guys. But listen, Lamar he's a stakeholder. He's a partner. He's earned that right to have that type of input and opinion. And a lot of guys haven't earned that right, but Lamar has earned that right. It's important. It's necessary, and I welcome his input. I'll get texts from him, and there have been some years where I've gone down and visited with him, and probably do that again. Take a trip down to Florida and spend some time with him. But he's got a great command of the offense. He made great strides this year in every facet. He's my MVP, and I think his impact on our team is impossible to measure.
True.
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, Lamar's Lamar. He's a 2-time MVP, in my opinion. Should have been a 3-time MVP. So, different status. So that's what I would say. I think you have to earn those kind of rights.
I don't know how some of these people get media.
I mean, upside is how good can this guy be? Position need is like we need a player to play right away. In my opinion, with positional need, it sounds great at the time you draft a player, you pencil him in, but if he doesn't have the ability to play at a high level, then typically you're going to be disappointed. Your fans are going to be disappointed, and you're going to look at it as a bad pick. So you want the best player in any given situation. Your needs change day to day. I mean, we've been in situations. I've been on teams where I felt like we had great depth at corner, great depth at tight end. In a matter of a couple of weeks, we had no depth. I go back to the year that in a matter of a couple of weeks we lost J.K., Gus Edwards, and Justice, and had no running backs. Literally a Friday afternoon, calling agents trying to find somebody to come to Baltimore. And fortunately, we were able to get a couple of guys that came in and really saved us that year in many different ways. And so, need changes, but you win with talent. You win with players. And I always, if I have my choice, I'm always going with upside. I'm always going with talent. What was that? I mean, you guys know the Ravens. I mean, right player, right price. We don't have a lot of cap room. We have Nick Matteo working tirelessly to find some space for us. We call it couch cushion coins. Like we're trying to find 50 grand here, 75 grand there in a couch cushion. But we're not a team that's going to make a lot of big splashes, generally speaking. I mean, we're probably going to have 11 draft picks this year. My goal would be to hit on a large percentage of those draft picks, to find good, young, inexpensive talent, to put guys in for the future. Because the reality of it is, when you're paying guys like Lamar Jackson and the Marlon Humphreys and the Nnamdi Madubuikes and the Roquan Smiths and guys like that, and the guys like someday probably Tyler Linderbaum and guys like Kyle Hamilton, you've got to draft well every single year so that you always have an open window.
Two more. Somebody asked why they keep beating themselves. That's the question I want to ask. It's not a tough question. It's a fair question.
It gives us a little bit more, but when you're starting with as few dollars as we have, it's a savior, but we still would like to have more money. And then we're a victim of our own success in some ways because, you guys remember when I did become GM, one of my main priorities was to retain as much of our own homegrown talent as possible. And we have a lot of homegrown talent, which is a good problem to have, but it also means that we don't have as much money to go out and go after players that aren't homegrown talent. So any additional money we can get is very helpful. It still doesn't mean that we're going to break the bank in free agency. We're still going to be going after those veteran minimum guys, which, George Kokinis and Mark Acevedo do a great job finding those type of players. We're still going to be trying to find the guys that we can get that we think are good value that maybe come to us and play better than what we expected. And we have a lot of those guys, right? And those guys that come in and you're like, man, this guy's really good. I can't believe the Ravens got this guy for $1.5 million. Those guys are critical for us to sustain the success that we've had. Because the reality is we just can't go out and spend $200 million in the offseason on players like some teams do. We're just not going to be able to do that. Yeah, I mean, I think Mark is a great player. We're blessed to have three really good tight ends under contract this year. They all contribute in different ways. Their chemistry, their camaraderie, their impact on the offense, the relationship with the other skill guys is great. I mean, Mark's going to go down as one of our great players. He'll be in the Ring of Honor someday. I love having Mark on the team. He's an awesome player. I know he's going to have an amazing season. We'll figure out all the roster machinations over the coming weeks, but I can tell you there's no bigger fan of Mark Andrews than me. And he's been a blessing to have on the team. His leadership, the way he approaches the game, his attention to detail. He's just one of those guys.
All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you, guys.
And I believe that's it. Yeah, I believe that is it. Yeah, I believe that's the end of the press conference. That was the last question. And that is all from Eric Decosta today. We may do this a little later for Harbaugh. I believe he's this afternoon at 1. We'll see what happens there. But we are going to get the transcript if I can. We're going to go to the good old interweb, and we are going to go to the X machine. And let's go to our good friend, Mr. Jeff Zreback, who has he does a wonderful job of doing these quotes from the actual events and these press conferences. So let's play the first video he had.
The allegations are serious, concerning. The amount of allegations are serious and concerning. I think we're fortunate that the league is doing an investigation. We'll wait as patiently as we can for as much information as we can. We'll make our decisions based on that.
Do you expect?
Well, I think a lot goes into that. First of all, good question.
So that was the first question that they asked about Justin Tucker. So he mentioned, did Eric Decosta, that the NFL has met with him. They are in Baltimore, as we know from the Baltimore Banner. They were aware that a story was being worked on that was about to come out, and they were obviously tipped off and were able to get ahead of it. So, yeah, but we'll see what happens there. A lot of people in the chats that I was reading were saying basically that they could cut him on March 12th and then designate it as a post June 1 cut. That will then allow for them to get as much cap relief as possible with losing a player of the caliber of Justin Tucker. Let's go back to Jeff Zreback. As mentioned, the first 4 questions or so were about Justin Tucker. Next one, like I said, he did say he met with the league in regards to the allegations. And he did speak to Tucker on his own one-on-one, had a private conversation. So I'm sure he let him know, hey, this is what could happen. This is what might happen. Or to let the investigation take its course. And I know a lot of Ravens fans are up in arms. Oh, zero tolerance. It's no type of wiggle room around it. Why are they giving a special, I guess, preference to Justin Tucker? Well, he has not been charged with anything. These are allegations. We have to let the investigation take their course. I don't think they can just up and make a brash decision. Because remember last year, Zay Flowers. We thought, oh man, this brother could be suspended 6 games. We're going to be without our number 1 wide receiver for the first half of the season, potentially, in which turned out to be a Pro Bowl season. The investigation ran its course through the NFL, through the local authorities, and everything worked out. I don't know what was done behind the scenes. I don't know what actually took place, but it worked itself out. And I'm not saying this is going to work itself out because it's 2 completely different things. And when you get into the essay allegations, it's never a good result because just the stigma. You're now connected to Deshaun Watson, and not for good reasons. You know what I mean? So that black cloud, maybe the backlash, the cancel culture of 2024, 2025 will have a play in that. Decosta, speaking of Ronnie Stanley, the number 1 free agent of the Baltimore Ravens, is actually probably the first year I can remember in recent memory where the Ravens don't have pressing free agency guys or individuals who are going to be leaving. It's really Ronnie Stanley, McCary. Those are the main 2 guys at the top. I think Ricard stays because he's a fullback, and we're one of the 2 or 3 teams who use one. And honestly, I think they can work out a deal with him. He won't break the bank. So I could definitely see Ricard coming back. McCary or Stanley. I feel like with the kind of a comparison with the Orioles with Santander and Corbin Burns, I thought they both were gone because I just thought somebody's going to overpay for Ronnie Stanley. Somebody in the NFL in which we have terrible offensive line play is going to get a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle who played every game last year, who practiced all the time, who was the Ronnie we got when we drafted him at number 6 from Notre Dame. And clearly you can see then and there that they've met and worked out a deal before last year. Ronnie bet on himself. They worked the deal, gave him less money. He earns that money and more, projected to make around $20 million in the open market. The Chiefs, the Texans, the Bengals, the Commanders. I'm just throwing teams out there who could use an offensive left tackle. You could go with various other franchises. I'm sure that could use offensive line help. Teams that have a lot of money who would spend 20 to 25 million a year to get a Ronnie Stanley and plug him in at left tackle. I think he will price himself out of Baltimore because of that. But nevertheless, the Ravens will get a comp pick, and we'll see what happens. McCary, the versatility, he can play right tackle, left tackle, play guard, play center if needed. The Swiss Army knife. I think someone's going to pay him. He's projected to make around 15 million a year. I think someone will pay for him. Someone will probably overpay for him. A versatile guy you can put at guard, can play tackle if needed with injury. I think they're both gone. I think Ricard comes back, and I think we're going to need to add a tackle in the draft. I wouldn't. I know Rosengarten may move to left tackle. I get it, but kind of like him. I kind of like him at right tackle because it seems like that's where he's comfortable. He blocked for a left-handed quarterback, Michael Penix. The right side is his blind side. So I would like to see some variation of that. But then again, he's probably going to get moved to left. They're going to have to get a right tackle. Maybe they could bring back McCary, but I'm more inclined of let's get our own guys, like he said. The Linderbaums, the Kyle Hamiltons, eventually the Zay Flowers, Travis Jones. There are guys that need to be re-signed. Obviously, you can't sign everybody, but those are some things I'm thinking about as well. Like I mentioned, the NFL Combine is where deals take place, is where deals come to fruition, and that's what you'll see this week. Wheeling, dealing, show stealing, rumors and innuendo coming out. Got a video about Jonathan Allen coming out I did earlier, so you will hear more about that as well. Decosta said he will go down to South Florida. I actually asked, I said, where's Lamar Jackson? Anybody asking about Lamar? He says he will probably go down to South Florida this offseason, spend some time with Lamar. He's a two-time MVP, should have been a three-time MVP. He also expounded on that, said Lamar has earned the right to call his shot, to be able to give input of guys he wants. Obviously, he loves his Florida boys, his South Florida guys, but Lamar has earned that right. Eric DeCosta mentioned everybody doesn't earn that right. Lamar has a stake in this team. That is a powerful statement. That means he has equity. I'm sure in his contract now makes me feel like he has some sort of equity in the team, maybe. He has equity. He has the ability to kind of throw his weight around a little bit. He's not that type of guy, but I think behind the scenes, you can see that Lamar is not no dummy. He watches the game. He knows the game. He's a student of the game, has a very high IQ. And you don't get to where he's at without being intelligent between the ears. So obviously good to see Lamar and EDC have a good relationship. Obviously, they worked through some things before getting him paid. Sure, there could be some cap relief with restructuring him. I'm sure that will be part of the reason why he's going down there. Hey, Lamar, we can give you this money up front, defer some money later on. You still can get another bite of the apple. We'll go get some guys you like in the draft. We'll go get some free agents you might like. He did mention about the coupon books we like to say here on the Flex Zone. And he says we don't have a lot of cap room. Nick Mateo is working tirelessly to create cap space. As we mentioned, the Ravens are bargain basement shoppers. They are Burger King coupons, whatever you want to call it. They pull out the coupon book, change between the couch, change that you find in the car. They're not going to go out and make the big splash plays. They're not going to go out and make the big splash moves. But they will make solid picks and additions to this team that sometimes guys we don't know about who they're going to be or what they're going to be with this team. And maybe guys that you got to go online and look up and say, well, who's this guy and where did he play? And, like we say here on the Flex Zone, you have to essentially, when you see a guy like that, you have to do this.
Go Google it.
Who?
But they are known to do that. They've done it with Van Noy this past year, past 2 years. They've done it with others in the past, free agents, veteran guys. So I think they know. And he mentioned, obviously, they have 11 picks. He wants to keep as many picks as possible. It's the old Jimmy Johnson rule of drafting. Get as many picks as possible, acquire more picks. And then when you do that, you have a more higher probability of hitting on some of those picks. So if you have 11 picks, you might hit on 4 or 5 of them. You get 4 or 5 good players out of a draft. That is a win. You have 11 picks. You have a more higher likelihood to do so. But I think while this is a deep draft, I do think, they're at 27. I'm not saying go up to 10. I'm not saying go up to 15, but maybe you go up to 20. I'm looking at the Steelers at 20. I'm leapfrogging the Steelers. I'm getting to 19. That is what? 6 spots? 7 spots? Could you give up one of your fourths, one of your later round picks and get up those spots, maybe to jump the Steelers to get that playmaker instead of going for the 4th or fifth best pass rusher or sixth best pass rusher who could develop into something, could we possibly see a situation where they go get maybe one of the top two or three guys, a legit disruptor, a legit game changer, a legit person who can win? We know they were second in sacks, but all stats aren't created equal. And honestly speaking, the win rate, the nerd stats I like to call them, the analytical aspect, this team in crucial situations does not get the big play. They don't close it out. They don't get the sack. They don't get the turnover. They don't get the strip sack. They don't force a fumble. They don't get the interception. I believe Lamar's teams in the playoffs have only had 2 takeaways total. So it is definitely going to be something that happens there. Yeah, Reg, it is going to be one of those things. You know, it's an inexact science when you go to the draft. We don't know what these guys are going to be. The underwear Olympics are deceiving. I always say, look at the tape. The eye in the sky does not lie. Believe what your eyes tell you when it comes to sports and football, especially. What does the film tell you? Don't look at the 40 time. Don't look at all of those inflated numbers sometimes, because guys go and train just to do those drills. So for 9-10 months, they're doing drills and they perfect the drills, but are you able to play fast? Are you able to catch the ball with pads on? Are you able to get in and out of your breaks? Are you able, in your short shuttle as a lineman, your first 10 yards, to get off the ball well? I don't care about the 40-yard line, dash with a lineman. What are your first 10-yard splits, your shuttles? What are those type of things? When you get to the bench press, are you bitching out after 10 reps? Or are you pushing through to get to 15, 16 reps, get to 20 reps? These are things that I'm looking at when it comes to it. Obviously, the pro day is scripted, but like you said, Reg, the tape don't lie, and I'm going with this. Look at Terrell Suggs. I mean, he ran what, like a 4.7, and he's a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? I'm not, advocating threatening people with firearms, and that's another thing for another day with this whole offseason. But the tape does not lie, and there are a lot of good pass rushers, a lot of good defensive linemen, a lot of good starting caliber players that can contribute to championship winning. I've said it since the inception of the show, but I've said it on the Super Bowl. That game was won and lost in the trenches. The offensive line and the defensive line of the Eagles dominated the Chiefs. They punched them in the mouth. They blew them out. They took their lunch money, and they took their three-peat opportunity away from them. So I'm looking for that. Obviously, I'm going to do a video on some guys I'm looking forward to seeing at the Combine. Obviously, the workouts don't start till Thursday, but we will see what happens there. Eric Decosta did speak about Mark Andrews. He said, and I quote, "Mark is a great player. He will be in the Ring of Honor. No debate there someday. I love having him on the team. We'll figure out the roster mechanisms in the coming weeks. But today, he's saying no one is a bigger Mark Andrews fan than he is." Let me refresh the feed, see if I can get, yep. So that was pretty much what EDC was mentioning. He talked about Justin Tucker, obviously. He talked a little bit about Lamar, talked about Ronnie Stanley, talked about free agency, what they will do, what their plan of attack will be, their plan of attack in the draft, and obviously with what they want to do with Mark Andrews. I think Andrews, this is last year. You are better as a football team, especially offensively, with Mark Andrews. Now in the playoffs, do you maybe go to likely more? Would you love to have a Flowers out there? Yes. Will we love to have a defensive player or an impact player who can get after the quarterback and get a strip sack, be a closer? Yes. But there are a lot of intricacies to this. Now, do I have confidence that the Ravens will trade up? No, but there are guys who could fall. There are guys who could rise. The Combine will dictate a lot of that, and that could help out the Ravens. We know the Ravens are as patient as they come. They will trade back if anything else. But do they go get more picks? I don't know, but I think they don't have a lot of needs, but they have some needs. Obviously, pass rusher, 1. Secondary, also probably corner, 2. Third, you want to say offensive line, 3. Maybe you want to put offensive line at 2, corner at 3. Cool, but you are losing Brandon Stevens. You are losing Jalen Armour-Davis. You don't really have any corners outside of Humphrey, Wiggins, and TJ Tampa coming in this year. I guess he's going to be corner 3. So you do need depth at corner. You need depth on the offensive line. A starter, probably on the offensive line. Now, there is some offensive line depth, but I think the offensive linemen are more of round 2, round 3 guys. And I think the Ravens, like they always do, they'll draft a couple of linemen. I think most teams do that. You draft a couple of linemen. You draft probably an offensive lineman or 2. You probably draft a defensive lineman or 2. And like Eric said in his press conference, he refers to the defensive lineman is outside linebackers. We know the Ravens like to have their 3 or 4 down linemen, but they have the outside backers. Like I said, the Suggses, the Doomervilles, the Adelis Thomases from back in the day, the Jared Johnsons. So even now with the Always Van Noys, I want to see what they do at pass rusher. I think having a guy in a draft where it is deep that has guys who can rush the passer is going to be very, very important for this team. But I want to hear from you, everybody in the chat. I appreciate you joining me on your Tuesday afternoons for this early morning stream right here on the Flex Zone podcast, the only place giving you sports how you want it, when you need it. If you're just finding us for the first time, we are the Flex Zone podcast. Let me know your thoughts on what you want to see on the channel. If you haven't already, please so kindly subscribe. Cost you nothing. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up. It's like when you go out to your favorite restaurant, your favorite bar, your establishment, typical bartenders, waiters. Hey, hit that thumbs up. This doesn't take money out your account. It helps us be in the YouTube algorithm so we can continue to make great content like this. We want to hear from you in the comment section. If you're watching this now, you're watching this after the fact, comment down below. We live stream Eric Decosta. We may do John Harbaugh later. I believe that's around 1. So stay tuned for that. Hit that bell for all notifications to know when all content drops. We do watch-alongs, we do live streams, we do previews, post-games, and much more throughout the season. We got free agency videos, we got interviews. So much on the channel for you to take in. It is God's favorite host, the host of the most, back here on the Flex Zone podcast. If you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, hit that bell. Eric Decosta talked a little bit about everything regarding the Ravens, more or less the big stories. Like I said, in the situation of what we're in now with the Ravens, they don't have a lot of pressing needs. And honestly speaking, I could see them with not having a long list of free agents, without having a long list of specific needs, if they can stay healthy and just tinker. Like they don't have to shake up the room completely because they are a good team, but they do need to shake up certain aspects of the team, not the entire team. Like I always say, when you got a coach, you got a quarterback, got a coach, regardless of how you guys feel about Harbaugh, you have a chance. And honestly speaking, looking at the Browns, Steelers don't have a quarterback. The Bengals are going to Bengal. Yeah, they may bring back T. Higgins, but what is their defense going to look like? Yeah, they bought a new D coordinator, and honestly, in the AFC, it might be wide open. The Chiefs are still probably right now, just because of they always get to at least the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs have to be heavy favorites right now, but I think the Ravens are tied with the Chiefs. So what do the Ravens do? Do they add another receiver? Do they add another pass rush? Do they add another offensive lineman? Do they go? What are they going to do at kicker? You mentioned that as well real quick about the Justin Tucker. I know we were talking about the allegations, but from a personnel standpoint, they did kind of talk about the aspect of Randy Brown. They do a great job of going out, getting kickers, getting punters, and they may have to do that now. Now, I know this draft isn't anything great with kickers, but there are other teams around the league who had kickers this year. I'm sure they'll probably bring in a veteran guy, and I can see them drafting a kicker maybe around 5 or 6 to help out. They got to bring in another guy anyway, so one way or the other, they're going to be at least 2 kickers in camp. But we want to hear from you, Flex Zone family. I appreciate you guys for watching. Again, a little morning fun here on the Flex Zone podcast, only place giving you your Ravens coverage and sports content how you want it, when you need it. God's favorite host. Let me know what you're feeling down below in the chat. What do you think about the Ravens heading into the combine? And what are you expecting later on? We're going to have Harbaugh. I'll probably be back a little later on for that. So make sure you guys join me for that. And like I said, as always, we are the home of Baltimore Ravens content, giving it to you how you want it, when you need it. And if you haven't already, make sure you guys check us out. Big Reg, I appreciate you. Hassan, I appreciate you. Everybody in the chat, I see you. Much love. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I may be back later for Harbs. It's around 1. Should be available. We'll get that set up for you, and we will get that information to you. But hit that bell and subscribe. It'll let you know when all of our content drops. We're here each and every day. This is what we do. We're here for you on the Flex Zone podcast. Only place giving you sports how you want it, when you need it. I think Eric did a great job. Big Red, you talked about it. He was prepped. He danced beautifully through those questions. He answered them well. He didn't try to crack any corny jokes. He was pretty transparent. Talked about Derrick Henry even a little bit, wanting to extend him. Clearly, you can tell he loves having Derrick Henry. Former Cowboys fan, he knows the value of running the football. And we know the value of you, Flex Zone family. We appreciate you. We love you. We thank you for being here. You could be doing anything else right now, working or hardly working, doing whatever you're doing, but you decided to stop in and join us as we talk a little NFL football, a little combine action. I got a video coming out on Jonathan Allen, who has permission to seek a trade. We got other content. If you look at our NFL free agency videos, we talk about Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence. A lot of rumor and innuendo, and I'm sure more info will pretty much come out over the next few days as we get into the combine and things really start to percolate. So God's favorite host with the most, back here on the Flex Zone podcast, your home for Ravens content, wrestling, Commanders, Terps, Wizards, Lakers, anything you want, we got it. Appreciate you. I'm getting out of here. I will see you guys for a lunchtime live stream with Harbs, potentially, right here on the Flex Zone podcast. Thank you for watching. Peace. Much love. We'll see you when we see you.